We raise the bar and expand our reach. Through Afromedia radio and social media channels. The viewpoint here transcends the narrow constraints of traditional media. In the human story, we take sides. Leading personalities are interviewed. We conduct professional reviews and reports. The original content we produce is created and presented by international journalists. You can only watch Canadian Afromedia channels. It was and still is a very enriching experience to interact with you. All opinions are welcome, but they are not our views, and we assume no responsibility.
In the coming show, we will have a guest from South Africa who is both an author and a speaker. The CEO of the African Portal Radio TV International based in South Africa. Further, he is also an author, motivational speaker, model, and businessman. He also studied journalism at the University of Pennsylvania. He is the founder of and member of several organizations advocating for the African state and African development. In the coming show, we will have a guest from...
Thank you very much, everyone joining us. I welcome every one of you, no matter where you are, no matter the country you reside. I welcome you to this beautiful time on Afromedia Canada in connection with the African Portal Radio TV International. It's going to be a beautiful conversation on this broadcast this hour, as we have a lot of people that will be connecting with this broadcast, both home and abroad, especially in the diaspora. And I also have the guests with me in the studio that we're going to be having the conversation together. I have one of our very own Honorable Adetunji Omotola. He's joining us from Johannesburg, and it's going to be a great conversation. And also, I'll be joining. Thank you very much. Also, we're joining from Lagos, one of our very own Honorable Debo Adeshina. He's the founder of the Nigerian Life Matter. He's joining us as well. And also, we are waiting to join one of our leaders, one of the great African leaders and one of the politicians, that is Honorable Ramon Owokoniro. He's going to join us very soon. But with that, let me allow the guest that is already in the studio to introduce themselves. Honorable Adetunji Omotola, kindly introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Dare, for having me on African Portal. I'm very delighted to be here on this day, 6 days to the presidential elections in Nigeria. I'm Adetunji Omotola. I am a global African thought leader. I'm a media personality. I'm the founder of 12 Disciples Leaders, and I'm also the founder of the Guild of Nigerian Professionals South Africa. So that's what I do.
Wow, 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 wow. I am so delighted and I'm so happy to have you on this conversation. It's overdue, but I thank God that we finally made it to be here to have this conversation this hour. So let's quickly go to the conversation that is very, very crucial and very important, most especially as the election is very close in Nigeria. Let me allow Honorable Debo Adeshina to also introduce himself before we get into the business of the day.
Oh, thank you, my host, Oludare OLUSAN. Thank you for having me here. Actually, you've done the introduction. My name is Debo Adeshina, the founder of Nigerian Life Matter and a security expert, the owner of LLM Security Services based in Johannesburg, South Africa, but currently in Lagos, Bagada area, Koshofe local government. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it, and I really thank you for that. I think Honorable Owokoniro also will be joining us on this conversation as well, that we're going to be doing some justice to some of the questions that we already have for him and for the other guests in the program. All right, if you are there, I see Tolu Lokbe. Can you please kindly open your camera and the video so that we can be able to know who is at the back of the camera? In the absence of that, let's put Honorable Adetunji Omotola into the spotlight. Honorable Adetunji Omotola, I'm hearing some background noise from your side. I'm not sure if it's possible for you to, if you have any other devices on, you can just lower that voice, or you can just switch off the other devices. Honorable Debo Adeshina, Thank you very much for being here, and I really appreciate it. I'm going to be having the conversation with you, and I want to make sure that we attend to all the questions. Please, we have a very short time. We have to finish in an hour's time. So I want us to make sure that we're very short with our response, and we go straight to the point so that we don't waste most of our time. All right, let's quickly look at the current situation now, because the topic of this conversation is the state of the nation. You're on ground and you see, you are the judge that see in and out. What is the situation right now in Nigeria where you are?
Well, I'll be very honest with you. It's a very sad situation currently in Nigeria. We're having issues around, let me say, the dissemination of Naira in terms of the notes. We have the problem of the electricity, which is constant, is normal in Nigeria. And we have the problem of the poor situation. And we're having an election in the next few days. The tension is high. People are still debating. Some people are yet to know who to cast their vote on. And we have some people that they've already, having their own candidate that they are going to vote for in terms of the presidential election that is going to take place on February 25th, which is on Saturday. So the tension is high. There's still campaigns going on door to door. And actually, we are going to have the campaign to be stopped 24 hours before the election. So, but the tempo is very high, though there's problems of distribution of Naira. We're talking about the denomination 1,500, but currently the whole 200 Naira notes is being, let me say, allowed, while others are illegal, not legal tender.
All right. Honorable Debo Additional, I really appreciate that information that you put on the spotlight. But let's quickly look at the election coming in 6 days. You are a politician, and you are also one of the people coming out to be, to be one of the candidates for one of the local governments in your area. Let's look at the election in 6 days. Do you see this election coming up?
Well, with the look of things, the prayers for Nigerians currently is to see this election to come and go. It's to make it well corrected as per my own level. I came out for the House of Assembly, which was done in the month of March last year, but there were a lot of discrepancies which we later buried aside, being a party person. So trying to warm up for the local government election that will take place next year. So I'm fully in full gear to be part of the, because I have my party, I have my candidates, which I have to give full support. So to me, it's very interesting. We have people that they flew down to Nigeria to come and cast their votes. We have people from different parties. We have we used to have two major parties, the PDP and the APC, but now we have the third force, which is Labour. In fact, they have a special tag. They call themselves the Obedient. You see, and we have the party that is articulate. We have the party that is BATS. So we have three major candidates. We have the one of the Igbo attraction, we have the Yoruba, and we have the one from the Hausa Fulani, that's the northern region. So it's getting more interesting because now some people are towing in lines of their tribal, while some people are towing in line of who can offer, who can do the job for us. But, to me, most people, their prayers, some people have not yet to decide who they are going to vote for. So people are still looking into the eyes of God, say, oh Lord, my God, please choose the right person for us in Nigeria. But to me, I know where my vote is going to go for, who is going to be the prayer point, who I want to see In fact, winning the presidential election, like the way we're going to have for the House of Representatives, the senatorial, and others.
All right. Honorable Debo, I really appreciate that. Let me quickly connect with Honorable Adetuki Omotola here in Johannesburg. Honorable Omotola, I really appreciate you being here. And I know that you are a professional, a media scholar, somebody that is very, very conversant with what is going on in Africa, in Nigeria, and the rest part of the world. Let's quickly look at your visit to Nigeria a few weeks back before you flew back to South Africa. What is experience like?
Okay, look, I'll be very honest with you. My visit to Nigeria that commenced on the 1st of February and finished off on the 12th of February, a Sunday, was nothing short of a painful experience. Firstly, I arrived in the country to go and get my permanent voter's card. And when I went there on the last day, which was the 5th of February, which was a Sunday, after waiting for 3 hours on a queue of about 200 Nigerians, and after doing a printout from the INEC portal, as we were expected to do, and we waited for collection, only to be told after 3 hours that my permanent voter's card was not found. I was very irritated and angry, having flown about 6,000 miles to Lagos from Johannesburg, only to be told on the last day that my permanent voter's card was not found. And what even made it worse was that they then said to us that even though the exercise had ended on the 5th of February, that they will be sending us an SMS. And in my case, there's no way I can get a short message text because my SIM card that I procured last year, exactly a year ago, had been lost. So that was my first bad experience on the trip. And the second bad experience was this no cash, Naira redesign, no more money, no old notes, no new notes, no money coming out from the ATM, banks being attacked, staff jumping over the fence in fear of their lives, irate customers waiting, queuing at ATMs, looking like refugees in their own country. It was a total disaster. And the policy has all it's done is to destroy the economy, particularly for small businesses who rely on cash. It's the most stupid government policy that I've ever seen or heard of on this earth. It's such a painful experience and policy, and it's only a few days from the election. And what worries me is that there's been so many riots. People have died. 2 people have died in Delta State. People have destroyed property worth almost 5 billion naira. And the president comes and overrules the central bank. And the central bank had said, look, we're no longer taking new notes after June 10. The president comes and speaks to us a few days ago and says, oh, release 200 naira back, in flagrant violation or disregard of the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land. So it's been a nightmare 2 weeks of February, a nightmare. Only in Nigeria is this possible. Very painful.
Honorable Adetuki, I really appreciate this, but talking about it, I mean, let's put that aside. You get into your own area where you grew up. Do you, by any chance, see any progress? I mean, you've been in South Africa, living in South Africa for many, many years, but visiting back home, do you see any progress in your own area? Because it starts with that.
Yes, look, I must talk about the area where I did the balance of my teenage years. I think in 1984, we moved to a place called Isolo, Aswani area of Isolo. And that's where my family home is. In fact, the street is named after my late father. And as I approach to go and visit my 82-year-old mother, she turns 82 tomorrow on the 20th of February. And yes, my mother turns 82 tomorrow. So as I went to visit her, I saw the road called Aswani Road, where you have the textile companies, Emzor Pharmaceuticals, and all of that. That takes you to the market. The road was a terrible nightmare to navigate. It was broken in all parts. There was water. and people were trying to climb it as if it was a rock, delicately moving from left to right. And this was a major road off the Oshodi Solo Expressway, about 2 minutes drive from the airport, a total disaster. So the roads all over Lagos, I went to Yaba, Akoka, University of Lagos, I was in Isolo, I was in Ikeja, even GRA. It's like driving through a construction site. I don't know what they're saying, Tinubu's new Lagos. There's no evidence of that in Lagos. It's like an abandoned project. So I don't know what the citizens are doing. I don't know what the politicians are doing. Well, Lagos looks derelict, abandoned, and there's traffic everywhere, and there's no fuel, and there's no PVC, and there's no cash. It is a triple threat, and people are frustrated and hungry. So it's quite a sad situation.
Okay, Honorable Adetunji Omotola, we are going to be very, very make it snappy on this conversation because of our time. You have mentioned many things, but I want us to deal with them one by one. Okay, with all this mentioned, do you by any chance see democracy as the best way of government in Nigeria?
Of course, despite all the odds, there have been benefits for this democracy. The new Electoral Act, which the president signed into law, that has changed the face. I mean, you recall that last year during the primary, many ministers resigned from office. I mean, Amechi, a lot of these ministers who contested, Pablo, who contested for the presidential primaries. So the new law popped them up. They couldn't be a minister and still be running for office. And there are many good things that democracy has brought about. There's more free speech. People are able to speak. They're able to criticize the president, the ruling party. We have not become a country like Zimbabwe, where if you were to criticize your leaders, you might disappear or die in an accident, a car accident. So I think Nigeria, democracy is helping. We're moving along quite nicely. Voices are being heard. A lot more people are speaking. People have confidence in the election because of the beavers, the electronic system that they're going to use to capture the biometrics of every voter. So those are things that build confidence in the democratic experiment. But there's still too much corruption, and there's still too much gap between the rich and the poor. And that's why there's a lot of young people running away and fleeing the country because of the economic conditions. But I think, by and large, the democracy is there. You see signs that people are looking for.
All right. Thank you very much for your view on that. Let me quickly engage with Honorable Debo Adesina. Honorable Debo Adesina is a politician, and I believe that his response is going to be more different to what Honorable Adetunji Omotola said. Honorable Debo, let's look at the current situation right now in Nigeria. Do you by any chance see this democracy as the best way of government for Nigeria, for Africa? And if it's the best, are we doing what we need to do as a politician to put the smile in the face of the people, or we are just set of people punishing people so that we can always use them to get them when we need them for the election? What is your view?
Well, in my own stand, I will a little bit disagree to say we are really in the real sense of democracy, because there's one aspect of democracy that is missing in Nigeria, which most of us know. We're talking about the judiciary system. The judiciary system now is being abused by heavyweight politicians, because if you recall what happened in Imo State, whereby the current governor was catapulted from number 4 in terms of the winning point. We have the PDP candidate that won, then we have the APC, then we have the other party that came third, and we have the APC that came 4th, the other parties that came 2nd and 3rd. But the guy went to the Supreme Court, and the judgment gave him to be the governor. We have the one currently going on in Osun State, whereby we have the current governor who won the election, but the incumbent went to court, and currently he has won the tribunal, And the current governor is already fighting his ass out to challenge the tribunal verdicts. So in my own case, we're still having problems on the continent, most especially using Nigeria as a case study, where the judiciary, they are being bought. If you have your money, you can easily go after the judiciary, you pay them, and they will turn the results, they will turn the mandate, they will turn people's votes, use the judiciary system, which is also part of democracy, and turn everything around. So it will be a thing that needs to be really, really looked into if we really want to practice democracy. The freedom of the judiciary, not to be influenced by the executive, because the executive seems to be having more power, because the president will be the one that will actually give endorsement, maybe to the chief justice. The attorney general is there. To me, until people can have that free minds, free free judiciary system that will not contradict what we are looking at in democracy. For Africa, let me say in Africa, for democracy to really work, I think the executive need to really hands off our real democracy. But as long as the executive still have that power to overturn election using the people they've imposed, let me use the word imposed, to those judiciary setup, then I'm not seeing democracy really giving up the real results we want to see on the continent. But in other parts of the world, democracy might be really working. Like in America, for instance, we see that democracy is really at work. So to me, I think we should see how we're going to have democracy really, really designed for the Africans, the continent type of democracy. Because I'll give you an example. In Rwanda, the president of Rwanda is doing very well, though he's fortunate to have the power to get re-elected. He has the power to get the constitution maybe amended in a way. But the thing is, because he's doing fantastically well, people are not really complaining, turning a country that was known to be a genocide center on the continent and now a little London. In fact, Rwanda, which I visit often, is really more like I will not call it Little London, more of London on the continent. So democracy to me needs a proper polishing, whereby we'll be able to know that we are really doing democracy. You see, in Nigeria, democracy seems to be once you have your money, you can buy the judiciary, you can buy the police, you can buy the thugs, then you can have it. So we have a lot of criminals representing the people in the House of Assembly, in the House of Representatives, in the Senate, whereby they don't even fight for the people they're representing. They only fight for their own pockets. So to me, I'm still suspecting, even though I'm a politician, I came to the conclusion that most of us in diaspora, that we've really seen where the rule of law is really, because whether you're a big man, let me say for instance in South Africa, once you go, once you are, in fact, the former president of South Africa was arrested. In fact, he was jailed, even though he has some kind of special immunity, being a former president or kind of. But when it comes to going against the rule of law, you'll be taken on. Not in Nigeria. Once you have your money, they will just laugh at you. Celebration of criminals. So I'm still doubting whether democracy is really working in my country, Nigeria.
That is one of the challenges that we are facing right now. The High Court of the nation actually give the ruling that the government should allow the old currency and the new currency to be in the public. The two should be using, but the president of the country still don't follow the what the highest court of the country said. I mean, let's look at that, Honorable Adetunji Omotola. Let's quickly look at that. I mean, since the High Court already give the order for the government to allow the old currency and the new currency to continue, using within the country, why the president is not following that? What is your view to that, Honorable Omotola?
Well, there's a precedent to the president not following the advice or decree or rules of court. In many instances, the courts have asked, even in the case of Nnamdi Kanu, who the courts have said, please release this man, do release him, and they're still keeping him. There are many instances, even judges' houses have been raided by the Department of Security Services on the advice of the instructions of the executive. We've even had the National Assembly, violated by the DSS, the Department of State Security in the past, and that led to the sacking of the former DSS, Maman Daura. So this government, for the last 8 years, they've had a lot of executive abuse of power. So the president changing things and announcing at 7 in the morning that 200 naira will be released. Even that 200 naira has not been released to the citizenry. So there's a lot of incompetence, there's a lot of flip-flops, policies that are not thought through, the hardship that the population goes through. The president says he's sensitive to that, and that's why he has decided to ask that they release the 200 naira, but even that doesn't come forward. So this president is quite comfortable not listening to the courts, but then it's up to the courts to also ensure that its decisions are enforced. So I don't see the Chief Justice having made any statement yet, or any justice of the Supreme Court to counter what the president has said. But we have seen governors who have come out to defy the president in full scale, like the governor of Katsina and also the governor of Kano State. And these are governors who belong to the same party as the president. So there's a lot of confusion, and there's a lot of suffering, and there's a lot of misery in the country.
Honorable Omotola, you are one of the people that I believe that you understand the judiciary very, very well, because you are a law student and also you are a graduate and you have what it takes. In a situation like this, that the country, the first man of the country is not following what the High Court of the land said. What should the masses do in this situation?
The masses don't have much recourse but to protest. But even those protests, we've seen the army has been called in, particularly in Lagos, because obviously the government will not want a breakdown of law and order and anarchy. But I think the courts, when there's a challenge like this, I think there should be people of influence in the country have to weigh on the president, traditional rulers, eminent Nigerians, the international community, Nigerians in diaspora. This is a time for everybody to find their voice. There are petitions that can be done. The petition is .org. You can do a lot of civil activities. People can speak out, because the tendency is that when there's tyranny, where tyranny only exists when people say nothing and do nothing. This is economic tyranny. I'm told that the reason why there's this cash squeeze is to stop vote buying by some politicians who have stashed away lots of billions of naira. There's allegations that the Northwest governor has 22 billion naira in his bedroom, and that the DSS is aware of it. So even if that's the plan, stop politicians from vote buying, well, it's producing some very disastrous consequences. So there needs to be an urgent review, and that is where I'll leave it.
All right, Honorable Motola, let's quickly do this because it's very important that we please bring Honorable Motola back, because it's very important that we deal with this issue right here, right now. A few weeks ago, you have an interview in Lagos talking about the issue of PVC, talking about the what you go through, and you already mentioned it here as well. Few days after, there is a crackdown by the police, and the arrest was made about almost, I don't want to disclose this figure, but a lot of people was arrested having Nigeria PVC, NIN Nigeria, but they are not Nigerian citizens. They are from other countries, neighboring countries to Nigeria. Have you seen this kind of thing happening before? Before you mentioned that you are going to take it up with INEC, do you? I mean, have you seen this kind of thing happening? Because it was more accurate when you mentioned in that interview that you are going to take the INEC up for not being able to provide your voter card. What is it that actually happened? What do you say before that?
Well, look, I think that INEC is, well, in my view, through the offices of INEC in Oshodi, Solo, that was where I was meant to pick up my permanent voter's card. And I complied with the procedure. I went and printed out the printout from their portal, which they asked us. They put us in groups or in batches, Isolo, Okota, Ejigbo, and so on. So I complied, and we sat there. We had to rent a chair. In fact, Honorable Adeshina was also there with me. So he's a living witness, and he's on this show as well, so he can corroborate what I'm saying. In fact, he had a bad foot, and he had to sit down. I was standing up like a soldier. I was determined to get my PVC at all costs, even if I had to wait there all day long. But lo and behold, they came. They created 2 queues automatically, Nigerian factor, one for collection, one for not found. Once I saw the second queue of not found, I knew there's already a Nigerian factor. I smelled a rat. I knew these people are up to no good, but I ignored them. I thought it wouldn't apply to me. Once we found ourselves inside the offices, but not inside their physical office, but outside, we then waited again, secondary waiting. And finally, they came out on a piece of paper and told me that, and another person that was with us, that our entire cohort of 3, our PVCs were not found. Of course, I'm disappointed and angry and frustrated with INEC, because they didn't push the collection date to close to the election. We're talking about February 5 deadline, the last day, and the election is on February 25. So 20 days before the election, here I am, and I can't get my PVC. So of course I have to take them to court. I'm a lawyer. I know my fundamental human rights to vote and be voted for. And INEC has failed to allow me to vote. And that's gross incompetence on their part. So that is why I'm taking them to court. And I'm not the only one who ended up in the not found category. On that day, we were probably up to 100 people. So it's a total embarrassment and a serious expense on my part that I can't vote. And I'm the one telling people about the Nigerian election on many platforms. It is an embarrassment for me.
All right, Honorable Adetike, let's look at this now. Let's look at it. But now the arrested was made, and over thousands of people was arrested, having Nigerian PVC, having Nigeria NIN, but they are not citizens of Nigeria. How possible is that?
Why are you surprised? Do you think that we Nigerians know how many we are and who is really a Nigerian? Have you been to Borno states, states that are contiguous to other countries like Cameroon and Niger? Have you been to states that are contiguous to Chad, Borno, Adamawa, and places like Yobe? You will find that there are many people in Nigeria who are here, or rather there now, illegally. They carry on as if they're citizens of Nigeria. We can't take stock of who we are. We're more fascinated by things that we don't have control over. But the ones that we should be able to control I don't think our security forces are really, I think they're stretched, in my view, or probably not professional enough to be able to police the country. Because how does it make any sense for you to have foreigners in your country and they're in possession of the most sensitive election materials just before a general election? But of course, people are also selling their PVCs. There's hunger in the land. If you give somebody 5,000 naira, why wouldn't they sell their PVC, especially now that there's no cash and there's a lot of misery in the country? But the government doesn't think about all these attendant consequences of poverty. That people will sell their votes, they will sell their PVCs, or some unscrupulous officials of INEC will try and make a buck. And that's why you're finding strange people in possession of INEC materials, specifically the permanent voters card.
All right, sir. Let's quickly do this because it's important that we find we got a response. Are you making headway regarding you doing the INEC? Are you making headway on that? Is there any response?
Well, look, I'm very sensitive to the fact that there's a general election, and there are two elections, in fact, the governorship on the 11th of March, in about 3 weeks' time, and then the presidential, and then the House of Representatives and House of Assembly. So I'm not going to get in INEC's way. They have a huge mammoth task to conduct an election in the country, over 176,000 polling booths across almost 1 million square kilometers of land in some very rough and rugged and unsecure terrain in some parts of the country. So my own dissatisfaction cannot take precedence over 90 million registered voters, many of them who have had their PVCs for even as long as 2019. So I'm quite aware that I'm just a few. We're just, in terms of the scale and size, we're very few. So I'm happy to wait until after the election. INEC is not going to disappear. They're a permanent institution, and they conduct regular elections in Nigeria, not only every 4 years. So I will be taking my steps to ensure that I get my rights remedied, or whatever has been wrong to remedy it.
But do you by any chance see this coming election hold?
Of course, the elections are going to hold. It's as true as night follows day. There's so much money that has been spent on the preparation, the election observers from the EU, from the AU, from the American Republican Institute, the media. They're already on their way in. Everybody's ready. People have campaigned. The last day of the rallies was yesterday. Everybody's on course. The candidates are ready. The voters are ready. The country is ready. INEC says they're ready. I mean, what will stop it? We have a military. There can't be any breakdown of law and order by rogue elements who are trying to force havoc on the citizenry.
All right, let's quickly involve Honorable Debo Adesina on this. Honorable Adesina, you are expert in security, and the security of Nigeria right now is not guaranteed. What can you tell us, and what do you think is going to be the solution to this? Because it's a very serious problem, and it's alarming, and it's something that we need to also talk about.
Well, I think, first of all, currently the security challenge in Nigeria is a little bit down since the beginning of the open campaign, and it's only in the southeast where we are having a lot of challenges. We've received a lot of information about attacks, about some of our politicians. Let me just put it, our politicians. I mean, Nigerians being attacked. We have just last week what happened in the South in Rivers State. A former minister was attacked, but luckily for him, he's having a ballistic car, let me say an armor car, which people call bulletproof car. He escaped. He would have been killed, and we've lost a lot of police. A lot of policemen are in their graves, and We have innocent civilians who been part of the numbers in terms of people being killed during this campaign. And even before the election, we have these problems, this particular problem in the southeast, where we have the Biafran people agitating for Biafra, and they have their sit at home, and this their sit at home they still continue because the leader of the Biafran organization, Mazin Kanu, is still in the custody of the federal government. They failed to release him even after the judgment that he should be released. So that one is still giving the insecurity in the southeast. And in the southeast, where we have one of the major contenders, that is His Excellency Peter Obi, in Anambra State is still very, very, very brutal. We have most of the INEC offices. They've been killing, destroying INEC properties. So to me, the insecurity still there, but the media they are not really reporting more, not to create unnecessary tension. But the social media, which we know, sometimes they carry real and they carry fake. So to me, the Inspector General of Police still have the belief that is doing well. But you remember, the state policing is not allowed in the country. And we have some states where we have the likes of in the southwest, we have the Amotekun, who are more like the local, let me just say the vigilante. They carry firearms, the one we in the security industry we call it shotgun, which is double barrel. But these are not weapons that you can really use to fight those criminals where they have superior firepower like AK-47, etc., etc. So we are having problems about this. So insecurity is not
Honorable
something
Debo,
we
let's
should
quickly
write
look at.
aside. No.
Sorry about this, Honorable Debo. Let's quickly look at the issue. I'm just being kind of worried about the situation right now in Nigeria because since the time they were campaigning is going on. I can see that it's reduced now in the country, like bomb blast, somebody call me throwing bomb, and all kind of a thing, terrorism, and that those have already gone down. Do we say that the insecurity in Nigeria is by design? Are you there, sir?
Well, I hardly heard you, but what I would
Okay.
just say is this: your question would be like, there is a
Can I repeat
minimum
it?
attacks now. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, there is a minimum attack.
Okay,
So
come
what
again.
I'm saying is that is the insecurity in Nigeria, is it by design? Can you hear me?
You know what? As a security expert, what I understand clearly about the insecurity in Nigeria is more. I can hear you. Can you hear me as well?
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. I can hear you, sir.
Are you live with me?
We can hear you. You can continue. We can hear you.
Yes. The insecurity. Yeah. The insecurity in Nigeria, to me, it looks like something that is designed in a way that, you know, government knows who are these criminals. Because at this junction, we have less of kidnapping. That is already something everybody in the world knows Nigeria to be the headquarters of kidnappers in the world, because it becomes a big franchise whereby you see people, they are collecting ransom once they get people kidnapped. But now, it seems the side of kidnapping, banditry has really subdued. But some things are still going underneath. And those ones that is going underneath are more security challenges, where we have door-to-door killings, private killings. I call it private killings because you just see somebody coming to your doorstep, you just hear the person has been killed. Unknown soldiers have killed unknown gunmen. Okay, let me put it, unknown gunmen. And I was informed this morning that a police officer has been detected to be behind the killing in the East. But I'm yet to confirm that particular story. Somebody was telling me about it this morning, but I'm yet to confirm that. So the minimum action of criminals in Nigeria seem to be a thing that the government must have really deployed a lot of security personnel going everywhere, combing the corners, chasing the criminals away. So I'm looking at it. Is it going to be something that they will continue to do even after the election? Or is it going to only be managed till after the election before these criminals will now go back to their arsenal and start bringing back their weapons to now unleash the dragons on the citizens? So to me, we just need to have, people will continue to say we have to pray, we have to pray, we have to pray. We have a lot of prayer warriors in Nigeria. But one thing I always tell people, we have to be security more conscious. We have to really know who our neighbors are. We have to really check our own movement. I've been coming to Nigeria for the past 2 years now, and I know where to go. I know what to do. It's not that I'm superpower, but I try to manage my security situation in the country where I know that they can just harass you, kidnap you, and that's it. So the issue of collecting ransom, all those things is now quiet, except maybe the media or the social media is not really carrying the whole act. You understand? But with my best of understanding, is a little bit minimal now.
All right, Honorable Debo Additional, I really thank you for that. Please, can you please bring Honorable Omotola back, because we are rounding up this section right now. I just want us to go to the last aspect of the question so that we can do a wrap up. Kudos to my team in Canada. I really appreciate every one of you in Canada. Thank you for the great work you are doing in the studio in Canada. This is coming to you live and direct from Canada, and I really appreciate everyone joining us in connection with the African Portal Radio here in Pretoria, South Africa. Kudos to the team in Canada. Honorable Matoma, please, let's quickly talk about the last aspect of this conversation. What is the book talk hold for Nigeria?
Look, I think that there's a need for Nigerians globally, firstly, to appreciate the historical context of Nigeria, particularly the population of Nigeria. And I start from diaspora first, because I'm in diaspora. I mean, so Nigeria is such a big country, very complex, religious, multi-religious, multi-ethnic. But the challenge for Nigeria since 1960 has been leadership. And even up until now, we see how unsmooth President Buhari's succession plan looks like. I mean, one will expect that after 8 years of President Buhari, that whoever picks up the ticket will have a massive edge over other contestants based on President Buhari's record. But that doesn't seem to be the case. And in fact, the ticket holder of the All People's Congress has been battling to stay close to the president. They've been there's a mistrust between both of them. So because there isn't a succession plan, as it were, by the president for his party, even from the primaries, that's why Alhaji Tinubu went to Abeokuta to go and say, Emiloko, it's my turn. Because there isn't any plan, no succession plan, it now is left to the opposition, if there is anything called opposition in the real sense in Nigeria, to begin to work assiduously to ensure that, given the last 8 years of this government that has been quite painful, if not very painful, the opposition must organize themselves to take over so that they can give hope to the ordinary Nigerian. Currently, the future looks bleak. The economy is in bad shape. There's no cash. People are suffering. So the hope is really, really bleak. And I've always said that the only hope for Nigeria now, the only group that is untainted by corruption and the psychological trauma that Nigeria presents, is the diaspora. But of course, the diaspora cannot vote. And even those who go home, like me, they say our PVC is not found. So we need to work closely together. And I talk about a pan-global diaspora. So not just Nigerians in the US or Nigerians in Canada, but a cross-harmonization of Nigerians and an intergenerational mix that is ready to go and challenge for power in Nigeria at what they call on the ground. They tell us we're not on the ground. So that's what I want to say.
Thank you very much, Honorable Motola. We have just 2 minutes to round up this section as we have another show coming up from Canada. Thank you very much, Honorable Adetuji Omotola. I really appreciate it. I have a caller from Nigeria. I'm going to take the call. I just want Honorable Debo also to quickly. Honorable Debo, we have a caller from Nigeria, but I just want you to quickly round up this section. I think we will not be able to pick any call because of our time, but I really appreciate those of you that are calling in. Thank you very much. It's great to be live again on the African Portal Radio TV. I really appreciate every one of you. Honorable Debo, I just want you to quickly tell us, what is future hold for Nigeria? In 1 minute, do you believe that there is a future for Nigeria?
Well, I strongly believe that there's future for Nigeria. Nigeria as a country is a good place. All what I want us to continue to work toward is to have good leadership, and also the followers should also try to be good citizens, because every bad thing that is currently happening in the country, people always claim to say the government is the government. So I always ask, we're in democracy. What is democracy? Government for the people, by the people, So you have to be part of the, we have problems and we are going to be part of the solutions. So to me, I just have it to say Nigerian people should try to make things work for Nigeria.
Somebody's joining us on the call from Lagos. Hello, just 1 second we are rounding up this section. Hello, sir. Your name and where you're calling from. All right, sir. Okay, sir.
Leaders is actually a nation of our decayed society after that. Every leader that has emerged in Nigeria or the president emerged as the president of Nigeria is a function of our society and the current society. And this current president is very authentic.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's a very valid point. That the president, the leader we are producing is coming from the society. So whatever we are facing is what the society produces. That is what we are facing. Thank you very much to Honorable Debo Adesina for joining us. And thank you to Honorable Omotola for joining us from Johannesburg. And thank you to our leader. He was unable to connect to the studio. Thank you very much. I really appreciate both of you. Thank you for coming out. And I'm going back to the studio in Canada. God bless you. Thank you very much. I really
ṣé wọ́n lè dárúkọ orú rẹ mọ́rú wọn bàbá ń pe bàbá wa Ọbáfẹ́mi Awólọ́wọ̀ bàbá rántí Gani Fáwẹ̀hìnmí wọ́n máa ń dárúkọ Adékúnlé Ajáṣin bàbá wa Ibrahim Adésànyà ńkọ́ àwọn dókítà Túnjí Ọ̀tẹ́gbẹ̀yẹ Bọ́lá Ìgè Wọlé Ṣóyínká bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́ Ransom Kuti bàbá ń dárúkọ àwọn ẹni ńláńlá ṣé wọ́n lè karú rẹ mọ́ wọn àìmọye irú yín tẹ̀ ń bá Awólọ́wọ̀ jórúkọ ọmọ Awólọ́wọ̀ ní wá ọ̀gbọ́n gbogbo iṣẹ́ táwólọ́wọ̀ ṣe kalẹ̀ lè ń bàjẹ́ dànù ó ṣe ọ̀run ń wò wá ìtàn dẹ̀ ń wò wá torí gbogbo yín náà lẹ tó ń kọ̀tàn míì lọ́wọ́ aráyé ó kà í tíwọ́ náà ń ṣe lọ́wọ́ ní ìsìn àsìkò rèé tó yẹ ká pọ̀ dọ̀fin ká pe àrónú wa kí gbogbo wa ó gbìmọ̀ pọ̀ kí gbogbo Yorùbá ó pawọ́pọ̀ ká pawọ́pọ̀ ká dòṣùṣù ọwọ̀ òjò òṣèlú míì ló tún ti ṣú yìí ipò wo ló fẹ́ wà ipa wo ló fẹ́ kó